Hello everyone. So I posted this card last week as part of the MFT release countdown, and I didn't do a video with it because I had been experimenting and it was late at night and yada yada yada, many reasons. Anyway, so many requests to show how I did this brick background. So I'm gonna do it again, but in different colors, just because I don't like remaking the same card. I just don't. So I'm gonna do the same technique, just in different colors. I'll post a link to the original post though for this one so that I listed all the colors I used, you know, cardstock, the Copic colors, everything. But yeah, I'll show you guys how I did it. So I'm using the small brick wall stencil. This is a new one from MFT. And I've just got some heavyweight white cardstock here. Just smooth white cardstock, and I cut it down to 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then I just use a bit of painter's tape. I actually reuse, if it's not dirty, you know, if it doesn't have stencil paste on it or anything like that, I just keep it beside me here, like stuck to one of the shelves. I've got all these pieces of tape. But I reuse the tape because why throw it out if it's still good? So I'm going to get my little brick stencil here kind of lined up how I want it. Just kind of like so. And I'm going to use some of the bits of tape, just hold it down, because I'm not planning on putting the embossing paste over this entire piece of cardstock, so I can tape down the corners just so that this doesn't move around. And I've got it on my little craft sheet here too, so that I don't get embossing paste all over everything. So I'm just going to tape down the cardstock. Okay, so now I've just got my white embossing paste and my spatula. And I'm going to take out a little bit of the embossing paste. You don't need very much. And I'm just going to apply that. Okay, so you can also see I didn't clean my stencil very good the last time I used it when I did the watercoloring technique. So of course the embossing paste has picked up a bit of that, but you know what, I'm just gonna go with it. It'll work. So I didn't apply the paste very perfectly. I purposely missed some spots, and then I want to make it a little more textured looking, you know, to make it look kind of like rough, uneven brick. So you just basically kind of splotch the stencil tool around and just move around the embossing paste. So really simple. I'm going to quickly wipe off the spatula with just a baby wipe, just so it's clean. And then I want to peel off. Okay, and I left the bottom piece still attached so that way I can just lift this right up. And now I'm going to go wash this with warm water. You want to wash this quickly before the paste can dry on your stencil, otherwise you're going to have a mess and you might not be able to get it off. So I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to go wash this off in the sink, and then also wash off any remaining watercolor while I'm at it. And I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so this has had some time to dry, and while it was drying, I die cut kind of the main focus of my card here. So I'm using the new light bulb dynamics from MFT. That's how I made my little light bulbs. So just some banana split, steel gray, and grout gray cardstock. And then this is the new rectangle frames dynamics. So I die cut a frame from some steel gray cardstock that I'd stamped with the new grid background in the same color of ink. And then the sentiment is from the new What's Up, like W-A-T-T-S, What's Up stamp set. And I just stamped it onto some vellum and embossed it with white embossing powder. And then to adhere it, I just applied some Tombow Mono Multi behind the letters there so that you can't really see the adhesive. And the reason why I did this is it's going to play into the airbrushing I'm gonna do. And now, since this is all dry, it's also warped a little bit from all of the embossing paste, which normally is fine, but because I want to use the stencil again and I want it to lay flush, what helps is I'm just going to use a piece of scrap. This is actually the top of a box here, but I'm going to tape my stencil back on to just this piece of cardboard so that I can kind of get it a little more flat, because the craft sheet, being as flexible as it is, just does not want to work as well. So I've got that, and now I'm going to take my now clean stencil and line it up again with all the embossing paste that I just did. And I've got it all lined up here. I've kind of tried to pull it as taut as I could just to get it to kind of sit in those little grooves. And then all I did was I grabbed my little Copic airbrush. So got that attached. I'm gonna start with the yellow. Get that into my airbrush. Do a little test squirt there. And then this is why I did this separately, is because I want to put it on my card, and now I know I want to airbrush the yellow kind of in the center-ish of this area. So get that kind of out of the way. I'm going to lift this up on an angle so that my airbrush is fairly straight, and then I'm just going to start airbrushing in some of this yellow. Okay, so now I'm just going to see how I like that. I want to get a little more concentration right here. Okay, and now I'm just going to switch colors. Use N6. Make sure that's spraying right. And it's gonna look like a complete mess in the beginning here until you pull off the stencil. But I've got that one, and then I'm gonna use N8, which is even darker. Alright, so once you're happy with how it looks, it's time to peel off the mask. That's always the funnest part. Looks so much better once you peel the mask off. So now I'm left with this cool kind of gray brick textured background with white grout basically. So there you go. And then of course I need to adhere my little main image here. Dimensionals on this, so I've just got some little mini square dimensionals from my stash. So I'm going to add those to this. Okay. Okay, so before I get to adhering my main image to the card, I want to quickly airbrush the inside. So I've got my card base here, and I'm just going to adhere it to this cardboard, just adhering the top portion because I only want to airbrush the actual main inside of the card. So I've got that, and then I've got a piece of copy paper that I just taped to the back of the stencil here just to protect the other areas of the card. And I'm just going to line up the bottom of this brick wall here with the bottom of the card. Okay. So I've got that lined up, tape it down really good, and then I'm just going to take those same grays that I used on the outside of the card. So I'm going to take my N6, pop that in there, give it a little test spray, and then I'm going to spray mostly concentrating on the bottom left corner here. And just kind of let the overspray spray onto the other areas of the card. But I don't want to airbrush the whole thing just because I want it to be open to be able to write something and not have it all covered in airbrush. Okay, so done with that color, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of the N8, the darker gray. Again, quick test spritz. And then I'll just spritz that on. That should be enough. So then I'm just going to peel this off, and I've got this cool gradient brick wall background to the inside of my card. Since it's Copic, it dries instantly, so I just want to adhere this. So I'm going to adhere it flat to the card. I'm going to use, get that out of the way, my ATG adhesive, because I want to use a good strong adhesive, since the stenciled card front is fairly warped. And if you use a good adhesive, that'll keep it as flat as possible. So I'm gonna line that up on my card. Press down. Alrighty, so there we go. So with this one, you can see how it looks with gray Copic airbrush on a white background, which I think is really fun. And then on this one, I had done the craft background with colors more like actual brick. And then you could do gray background for more like a gray grout look. Like, the possibilities are kind of endless. You could have all sorts of fun with this. Okay, last but not least, before I go, I was just looking at this card and thought I would add even an extra little something. So I added a bit of yellow to the embossed word Brighton, just so it looks like, you know, the light's hitting that as well. And I just used the same Copic marker on my Y19, and then I added a little bit of Y000. And one thing to note when it comes to embossed images is you have to be really, really careful with your Copic markers. Even doing this little bit, it discolors the tip. It's almost like the Copic ink melts embossing. That's about the only way I can describe it. Is you can actually, I could actually see the tip was discolored and had white embossing on it. So I just had this piece of scrap cardboard and like scribbled it off really quickly just to make sure it doesn't ruin my tip. So that's something to note when it comes to embossing images. If you want to color them in with Copics, you have to be really careful to basically not touch the embossing. A little bit is okay, and if you catch it quick enough, you can scribble off any of the melted embossing powder that ends up clogging up your tip, but if you don't get rid of it right away, you will ruin your Copics. So I just wanted to put that out there before telling people that's how I did it and then have people wreck their markers. So that's how I added that little extra something though. So as always, there will be a link below to my blog post with links to all the supplies used. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!